Congressman Hoyer, House Appropriations Chair Hal Rogers says FEMA has plenty of money. He says FEMA has enough money to last until at least February, late February, March. What's your reaction?
Well, FEMA does have and has said that. He's right on that. But as Hal Rogers knows better probably than anybody else, he was for a $27 billion bill, his committee, which dealt with a lot of other agencies, not just way beyond FEMA, in terms of helping communities rebuild and helping small businesses recoup their losses and try to get back into business, helping families directly. So while the statement that FEMA has said it has money through March is true, there are billions and billions of dollars that are necessary right now coming from other agencies. So while what Mr. Rogers says is true, he knows full well that that's not enough. Furthermore, I was shocked last night and deeply saddened that we didn't put the relief bill that was passed through the United States Senate in a very strong bipartisan vote on the floor last night, as it was represented to me the day before and the night of last night. It would be. The majority
Mr. Hoyer
told me. Yes, sir.
So why didn't it happen? That's what everyone is wondering. You said you were shocked that it wasn't put up for a vote. Why didn't it happen?
I talked to the Speaker just before the vote occurred on the fiscal cliff bill. And I asked him, I said, I've got to tell my members to stay here for the vote. Is this bill going to come on the floor today or tomorrow? And he said, well, we'll have to make that determination after this vote. That's the last time I talked to the Speaker. The next I heard was from Peter King of New York, who was told by Mr. Cantor, who was told by a staffer of the Speaker that they had decided not to put the bill on the floor. I don't know the reason. Whatever the reason was, it was not justified. I think so many members have pointed out when we had the Katrina damage, which was also a very broad-based natural disaster. 10 or 11 days. We acted within 10 days, well, 10 or 11 days, $60 billion. We acted with alacrity. Here, for whatever reasons, this was authorized on October 30th by the administration, said this was a disaster. We're now some 60-plus days later, and we haven't acted. It's a tragedy. It's unacceptable. And I would hope the Speaker would bring this legislation forward in the next few days. While we're leaving one Congress to go into another, this ought to be a priority, and we ought to do it this week.
Congressman Hoyer, a couple of other questions for you. Some House Republicans oppose the Sandy aid package, saying it covered many unrelated items that have nothing to do with Sandy, like repairing fisheries in Alaska or repairing the Smithsonian Institution's roof in D.C. I mean, what do you say to them? Did you personally work to address any of those concerns?
They were taken out. They wouldn't have been part of last night's legislation. They were taken out by the committee for the reasons you articulated, so that was not an issue. They were taken out of the bill. It was going to be offered on the floor without those provisions in there. We didn't argue about that. This is directly about people in the states of New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, New Jersey and New York in particular, that saw their people ravaged and put out of their homes, put out of business, put to the trying to fend for food. That's what this is about, not about those other unrelated items that were taken out of the bill by the Appropriations Committee.
Does this say anything about Mr. Boehner's speakership in the future, if he will be able to hold on to it, having made this move?
Look, I think the Speaker did the right thing last night with respect to making sure that we maintain some degree of fiscal stability in our country, that we made sure that working Americans didn't get a tax increase, that middle-class Americans wouldn't see a tax increase this week, this month. I think he did the right thing in allowing us to vote on a bill which made sure that 2 million people on unemployment wouldn't be
but what about this particular
put out of
issue?
work. What I think happened last night was that this issue perhaps became too hot to handle because it was an emergency. As these emergencies are, it was unpaid for, and I think he may well have been concerned about his members who were going to say this is an additional effort by the Speaker to, which would result in adding to the debt. But as I pointed out on the floor, if your furnace goes out and it's 30 degrees in your home and you don't have $10,000 or $5,000 in your pocket to pay for a furnace, you go out and borrow the money, you put the furnace in to maintain health and life in your residence. That's what we need to do in an emergency. And then, yes, we need to pay for that over time.
Yeah. House Minority Whip Steny Hoyer, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.